Hey y'all, I'm Kara Perez, host of Kara Explores Money and author of Money for Change. Before we get into the episode, I am here to ask you to become a patron, which you can do at the show notes. We are currently listener supported, and I would love to keep it that way for the long term, but in order to do that, I need listeners to support. Patrons do get all sorts of cool stuff like access to our exclusive Discord, exclusive events, as well as discounts on our workshops that are open to the broader public. And of course, you help us create this show and content elsewhere on the internet. So if that's something that is of interest to you, please consider becoming a patron in the show notes or go to patreon.com/Kara Explores Money. Now, here's a fun fact about my work history. I have been working since I was 14 years old, but today I am 37 years old and I have never had a full-time salaried job with benefits. I also don't have any career experience in some sort of trade, like working as an electrician, and I don't have any service skill, like being a massage therapist or an esthetician. In my life, in my social groups, and in my family, I am the odd woman out. In fact, I'm one of only two of my female cousins on both sides of my family. I'm like realizing this in real time. I am one of two that doesn't have a master's. Okay, I've got like a lawyer, we've got a therapist, we've got a teacher, we have got someone who's got their master's in creative writing. It's me and one other cousin who's like 24. Again, I'm 37. That doesn't have a master's. So I'm the odd person out in my day-to-day life, but I think many listeners probably have similar stories. As a millennial, I graduated into a job market absolutely decimated by the Great Recession, and I lived through the rise of the gig economy, where companies were slashing benefits and hiring workers on an hourly basis. And here we are now in another very difficult job market and very difficult broader economy. Companies are implementing hiring freezes, layoffs, and they are holding back on giving raises. Job hunting is at the top of many Americans' minds, and it's definitely top of mind in my own household as my partner will be losing his job at the end of October. He has been job hunting since August 2025, but he's only had 2 interviews, so to say that we are concerned is a bit of an understatement. And outside my own household, one of my dear friends was recently laid off, their 3rd layoff in the last 6 years. And one of my money coaching clients is an entrepreneur who had to lay off 2 of her own staff members due to declining sales. Increasingly, if you have a job, it feels like you got the last chopper out of NAM. Data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics from September 11th, 2025 showed that, quote, the number of long-term unemployed, those jobless for 27 weeks or more, was 1.9 million in August, but has increased by 385,000 over the course of the year. It feels like there are no jobs in 2025. Newsweek recently published an article titled, U.S. Hits Highest Layoffs Since COVID. In the article, they say that U.S. layoffs surged in July to their highest level since the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. In July, there were 62,075 job cuts announced. That was a 29% jump from June 2025, and it was 140% higher than July 2024. In September 2025, the U.S. economy lost 32,000 private sector jobs. Recent headlines include Target laying off 1,800 people, General Motors laying off 200 people, and Meta laying off 600 people, all in October 2025. What is making this job market so difficult? Well, part of it is that the U.S. government in 2025 is outright hostile to its citizens. As I record this, the U.S. government is shut down, with more than 700,000 federal workers being furloughed, and an additional 700,000 federal workers being forced to work without pay. But the crappy 2025 job market is about more than just the government being a hater. It is a combination of the government downsizing, job scams, corporate restructuring, and the growing impact of artificial intelligence. And we're going to explore this intersection today. Let's start off with something that I have become intimately acquainted with, which is fake job listings. Now, I'm not looking for a job actively, but earlier in the year I was really burnt out on content creation, and I decided to look for a full-time job. Spoiler, didn't get one. Still keeping that streak alive of never having been hired. But obviously right now, as I've mentioned, my partner's job searching and we talk about it a lot. And what we're realizing is there's a lot of what is being called ghost jobs out there. Ghost jobs are when companies post fake job listings, or not necessarily fake, but jobs that simply don't exist. Companies are not actually hiring, but they want to send a message to the public that the company is doing well. And companies that are hiring are doing well. So they put up these fake listings, or they don't take down old listings so that it looks like they have the cash to bring on more employees. My partner has experienced this and has actually heard from the mouth of recruiters that a lot of companies want to post job listings not because they're hiring at this exact moment, but they want to create a file of qualified applicants that can be at the ready should they be able to hire in the future. So you're kind of getting put on the back burner. You're sort of being plucked out of the general job populace, but you're not being given a job, which is incredibly disheartening. And on top of these ghost jobs, there is a huge rise in job scams. The Federal Trade Commission says consumers reported losing 14.8 million to job scams in 2023 and a whopping 61.2 million in 2024. You likely have gotten one of these texts. You know what I'm talking about. Something pops up on your phone and it says, "Work from home and earn $30 an hour. Respond back with your resume." Or, "X company is looking for workers paying up to $1,000 a week from home. Respond back now as positions are filling quickly." These are scams, and scams are as old as time. But these are particularly heinous right now, in my opinion, because of the economic certainty that we're all living through. When you have been unemployed for a period of time, or when your federal benefits are frozen, you become more desperate for resources. So if a job offer pops up on your phone, it's going to seem like a godsend, and you may miss the little details that indicate it's a scam. Plus, now we have the AI job apocalypse. Tilly Norwood is an AI actress. That's right, you heard me, an AI actress, a completely fake computer program that has recently made headlines because her creator claims that top Hollywood talent agencies want to sign the bot as an actress. So instead of hiring Keira Knightley or Gabrielle Union, the creator of Tilly is saying, "You can hire my AI and pay me in order to create your next movie or TV show." So we are now literally competing against robots for jobs. I find Tilly Norwood to be particularly interesting because, of course, technology has impacted the job market since humans invented the wheel, right? Whether it be cars replacing horse-drawn carriages or electric lights replacing kerosene lamps, humans have adapted to technological advances in the workplace and in the home. But the arts, things like acting, singing, painting, have really always been sort of the sole refuge of humans. Being able to create art, some argue, is something that makes us uniquely human and something that makes us uniquely a society. But Hollywood is just as susceptible to the perils of capitalism as any other industry. And Hollywood is a place where offshoring has hit hard, both domestically and internationally. The US film industry is very famously located in Los Angeles, but in the last couple of years, places like Georgia and New Jersey have become hotspots for film and TV shows because they offer tax incentives. The UK also has introduced a 40% corporate tax rate relief for film and television studios until 2034, and a new indie film tax incentive of 40%, according to the Hollywood Reporter. So between AI and offshoring, Hollywood is struggling in a way that I think very few people predicted. And coming back to AI, it's now used in almost every step of hiring, from screening applicants and reading resumes to actually interviewing candidates. My partner has been applying to jobs, and he had one first round interview with AI instead of a real human. This is concerning for many reasons, not least of which is that AI is simply a reflection of the information that it's fed. AI cannot think for itself. 2024 research from the University of Washington found, quote, "significant racial, gender, and intersectional bias in how 3 state-of-the-art large language models, or LLMs, ranked resumes." The researchers varied names associated with white and black men and women across over 550 real-world resumes and found the LLMs favored white associated names 85% of the time, female associated names only 11% of the time, and never favored Black male associated names over white male associated names. AI is infecting every part of our lives, in my opinion, and it's spreading faster than regulations can keep up. So even as you're applying for these jobs, you have little to no protections from being discriminated against by one of these robots. And on top of that, I just have to say that using AI to interview someone is just another example of a job being lost to AI. So with the current work situation being so challenging and the future of work being so murky, it really does beg the question, what is the new American dream? The American dream is a very interesting phrase, and it's one that has shifted and changed over time. If you were an immigrant to the United States in the mid 1800s versus the early 1900s, what the American dream was did vary quite a bit. But that's a discussion for another day. Since the end of World War II, it has largely referred to the idea that an American can get a job, work it safely for 30 to 40 years, earn enough to buy a home, get married, have a kid or two, and then retire comfortably, usually with a pension. However, since the 1980s, that dream has been fracturing. And recently, 70% of Americans said that the American dream of working hard to get ahead, quote, no longer holds true or never did, according to the Wall Street Journal. In fact, according to some people, the new American dream is to leave America. Many people feel that it's no longer feasible for an average person to live a good life in the United States. So their new dream is to head someplace with a lower cost of living, a stronger safety net, and a slower pace of life. And I find this very interesting because I would say that the United States is still, by and large, a place where you do have the opportunity to become fabulously wealthy. However, you only have that opportunity if you fall into very specific buckets. The United States has some of the world's worst wealth disparity, meaning that we have some of the richest and some of the poorest people in the entire world here. The top 10% of wealthy Americans control 69% of wealth in the United States. That means if you are a member of the top 10% in the United States, your group controls 69% of all of the wealth that flows in and around the United States. So in a world with increasing control from the tech sector, with climate challenges, and without faith in the systems that orchestrate our country, what does the American dream become? Now, here's where I would love to give you both an action plan if you are job hunting and a really nice response to that question of, where is the American dream going? And I do have some tips. We're going to get into the job hunting tips in just a second. But I also want to make it clear that we are in uncharted territory here. Never before in US history have job seekers faced such a combination of harsh challenges. AI continues to be an unquantifiable property in the job market. We see companies making huge AI investments, but we also see news of an AI bubble because none of these upfront investments have yet paid off. We know climate change is impacting where and how people live and work. We know that companies hire with their own bottom line in mind. So, unfortunately, I can't offer up a magic solution, and certainly not one that will apply to everyone. But here's what I will say. Collective action is more important than ever before. As individuals, it's hard to take on the faceless corporations that often run our world. But as groups of people with collective power, particularly via workers' unions, we have a much better shot at success. So support unions, join a union, and see if you can start a union at your job. In terms of more nitty-gritty job hunting tips, here's what I'll say. Focus on curating your resume to each job that you apply for. Take words directly from the application and sprinkle that into your cover letter and resume. Upskill whenever possible to make yourself more desirable as a candidate. You can do that via certificates, via volunteer work, and via education. And finally, networking is crucial in this kind of job market. It is honestly not what you know, it is who you know a lot of the time. So ask people to do things like review your resume or introduce you to the hiring manager. Ask people to be a reference or to help you practice for an interview in their industry. And you can find a network or build a network through things like professional groups, groups based in a specific area, i.e. Architects of Boston, LinkedIn groups that are pertinent to your chosen career, alumni connections, and past coworkers. Ultimately, y'all, it is tough out there, and I am wishing the best for every single person listening to this or anyone you know that is job hunting. please keep your fingers crossed for T-Bone as well. This show was written, edited, and produced by me, Kara Perez. I would so appreciate it if you left a review for the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. The music that you hear is The Sluts with Nuts by Mike and Ron Jam. Please feel free to drop us an email at karaexploresmoney@gmail.com.